Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me just, all right, we are good to go. So let me just take a minute to introduce myself for those who are listening for the first time. My name is Dr. Samaria M. Covert. I'm a founder of an organization called Kingdom Creative Counseling. I'm currently located. I'm a licensed therapist with almost 20 years in the game, y'all. Woo! I am also a published author. I have written 100 books. Hallelujah. My 100th book as of right now when I'm recording this is not quite out yet, but it will be. I think this is pre-recorded, so it may be by the time you listen to this one. But anyway, welcome. Welcome to my podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you are watching this from. Today we're going to talk about an interesting topic, and that topic is signs you are a scapegoat. Now, let me clarify. Signs you are the scapegoat and how to free yourself, the scapegoat. Now, some of y'all may be saying, Samaria, what is a scapegoat? A scapegoat is someone is otherwise known as the black sheep of the family or the scapegoat. And I forgot to mention that I'm a Christian, so I love me some Jesus. So if I'm going to all bring in what we talk about today, also give you some scripture references. But anyway, so the scapegoat is a person who is blamed for the wrongdoing, the mistakes, and the faults of others, especially for reasons of expediency or for reasons that really just don't matter, is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what it is, how you cross your I, dot every T. When you are the scapegoat, you get blamed for everything, and whether it's your fault or not. It's gonna get good. I promise you, it's gonna get good. The scapegoat is a dysfunctional system. So always remember this, that everything functions within the system. We got the biological system, we got the governmental system, we have how the reptiles and how nature, C.S. Lewis calls naturalist. It all operates through a system. However, systems are pure, but oftentimes systems are dysfunctional. And so when we talk about scapegoat, most of the time we're talking about dysfunctional family role, that system. For my therapist, maybe you're in school or maybe you graduated, you remember we talked about the family systems theory or family systems therapy, and we talk about how all families operate within a system. But generally, dysfunctional systems are families. It can be organizations, it can be cultures, or it can be groups of people. They operate similarity. Our brain is a system. Our body is a system. Our church is a system. It's an organization. For the sake of what we're talking about today, we are going to focus on family dynamics. But remember, and this is really important, that you can be put in a system that you did not ask for, but you're there. And you can still show up these different roles. You can still be a scapegoat in different systems they're not helpful for you. Okay? Your environment is another system. How we run things is a system. So think of a system as a like a round circle. And that circle is always moving, but it's never breaking. So a fall, spring, winter, summer, that's a system. So a system is, think of it as something round. In order for that system to continue to go, everyone has a role that they play within that system. However, when we talk about what a scapegoat or the black sheep uh, uh, dynamics, what we're talking about is that you are placed in a role, one, that you didn't sign up for. Two, you didn't have to qualify for it. You didn't ask for it. And it's very difficult to change without opposition. But remember, we're not talking about when the system works well. We're talking about dysfunctional systems or dysfunctional family roles. Remember, I told you in order for systems to work, they have to continue. And what happens, another reason why, and I'm trying to get ahead of myself, You can change. You may be changing and evolving, but your system, your environment, your family is not. So there's a theorist, and I didn't remember her name, but I'm going to give you some information of different dysfunctional family roles. This is not my information. I'm going to switch off into my information in a minute. Excuse me. Um, I'm going to switch off to what I my information in a minute. But let me just give you this brief synopsis. And again, these are another family therapist, family theorist, excuse me, or family systems role. The founders of that came up with identifying dysfunctional family roles. And you can even Google, believe it or not, dysfunctional family roles, and you can find yourself, you may be able to relate to one of the roles that you have been placed in. Most of the time, subconsciously, it's just how dysfunction works. So one is the hero. The hero is the one that strives for perfection and achievement to prove that our family is okay. It often leads to high expectations and perfectionism. When you are the family hero, you're like, I did a teaching on the responsible one or the strong one. You are the one that takes on the responsibility of saving everybody. You are the protector of everybody. Remember, we talk about dysfunction. So there are other negative things that happen when you're family hero that ends up leading us to go to therapy. For example, you may be performance driven. You may have extreme anxiety. You may get stressed out or burned out to the extent because you're always trying to rescue people. I want you to imagine trying to rescue grown people who don't want to change. But you're the hero, and so you take on that role, and it becomes an extreme burden. You get burnout, you get caretaker fatigue. You end up having some severe, you get depressed, you know. So there's all kinds of things that happen when you're the family, when you have identified as the family hero. And usually it's based upon trauma. You see a family going through things, you may say as a child, when I grow up, I'm going to, or you see it within like people that are very successful, like rappers from rags to riches stories. They are the one in the family that has got really successful. Now they give everyone jobs and they end up losing a lot of money and things of that nature because they're trying to help everybody, trying to carry everyone on your back, so to speak. You're the hero. The next one that we're going to focus on, again, there are different roles, but the only one we're going to focus on today is the scapegoat. And like I said, the scapegoat is blamed for the family's problems. They often struggle with authority and they struggle in relationships and we're going to talk about in a little more detail what are some of the emotional mental health things happen that when you imagine no matter what happens, you can't win. You can't make it better. I mean, just imagine some of the things that happen when you're constantly being blamed for stuff that you know nothing about. But you didn't break it, but you got to fix it. As a matter of fact, I quote this. There's a book that came out, I think, in the 90s, and I quote it a lot. It's called Emotional Unavailability by Brian C. Collins or Brent C. Collins. I can't remember the exact pronunciation. And the author says repeatedly throughout the book, you didn't break it and you can't fix it. But they'll make it your responsibility to fix it. And how dare you? I'm trying not to get them. How dare you? Let's not. Come with me here. It's gonna get good, y'all. It is going to get good, okay? Then we got the lost child. The lost child is the one that involves being unnoticed, feels invisible, low self-esteem, and lacks identity. That's the quiet one. That's the one that everybody ignores. They don't make no trouble. They don't cause no trouble. And so we just going to basically ignore them because they don't bring us, they don't do nothing basically. The lost child. Again, all these things, I'm just giving you a brief synopsis, but they can be deeply, deeply painful going on long term. Then we got the mascot. The mascot uses humor and is very attention seeking. They diffuse tension, they distract from underlying issues, but the mascot is think about mascot. What's the first three words, four letters? It's almost like a mask. These are your family members that get together, they laugh, you just hang out with them for a good time. They may have deep-seated roots of depression, anxieties, and fears, but we just gonna get together, have a good time, party it out, and never deal with the issue. The mascot, because they wear the mask. Then there's the enabler. That is probably the most toxic, in my opinion. Some people may disagree because it doesn't tell you that on the family system theory roles. I think it's the most toxic. So the mascot, I mean, see, the enabler or the caretaker takes on the problems of other family members. They enable unhealthy behaviors, and they maintain the facade of normalcy. They tend to be very passive. They fear confrontation, and they just want, can we all just get along? They don't deal with issues. They shapeshift. So when they're with one family member, they're like, oh, yes, I agree. And then another family, oh, yes, I agree. They don't disagree and they don't ever deal with issues. They just want to get along to go on. They're afraid of confrontation. So generally, when this is the person that's caught up in a codependent relationship, there is some people call it, I used to call it a divine enabler. So that means they have someone that's very toxic. Sometimes that person may be addicted to drugs and alcohol, and you have someone that enables that behavior and they keep trying to fix it. And it's almost like they're attacked. They don't have their own identity. They take on the identity of trying to just pacify things just so nothing goes wrong. It's a very, very dangerous place to be. Then there's the golden child. Again, all these are masks that we wear. They up front, they look like, oh, it's not so bad. But I'm telling you, going long term, there's a reason why we identify these as toxic family roles. These create for dysfunctional family roles. So the role involves being seen as perfect and all good, which can lead to a low sense of self and pressure. It's all image based. Smoke and mirrors. Yeah. And so then there's a screw up. The screw up is the one that is similar to the enabler, but this one can never do anything right. It's almost as if they're the one that everyone rallies around and enables because you're not, they just can't do it. They can't be an adult. They just can't make it on their own. Everything that they do is going to fail. So if you are the screw up and you believe that, how would your life be? But it's almost like these are the ones that there's a concept called the parentification of adult children. These people are mentally, emotionally stunted because they're always a forever child. And the enabler and the master all come behind them to just help them because they just cannot do things on their own. They have a learned helplessness. They don't believe in doing things like getting a job and taking care of yourself and doing things on your own. They just think life and everybody should take care of them because within the family they are the screw up and it is perceived that nothing that they do will work. They're lazy. Okay, I know y'all I mean, they don't want to be an adult and grow up. And it is almost the enablers almost gives them this perception that they just can't do it. What is your little brother going to do if you don't pay his bills? How can and he's like 30. What is he going to do? Well, you know what I'm saying? But listen, you the scapegoat, so you know who's responsible for taking care of these grown people. They got grown people bills. They're doing grown people things. Got grown people stuff. Guess who's supposed to take care of the screw up? You, the scapegoat. Okay. So I went through that very, very quickly because I don't want to get caught up in that. We're going to focus on how do you heal when you identify yourself as the scapegoat or the black sheep. Remember this. And of course, I'm going to plug for therapy. What we're doing, talking about today is not therapy, but I am in my therapist's office. And as stated before, uh, it, it is very, very, very difficult you can unravel it, but it's difficult to heal fully from it without a therapist. Okay. And I'm not saying you can't, but this is a huge plug for therapy. Listen to this. These are demonic, in my opinion. This is where I'm bringing my Christian faith and my belief in spirituality and spiritual warfare. Because the Bible says we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in what high places. These are demonic symptoms, right? And they relate back to the fall of man in the very beginning. So if you really look at where dysfunctional family started with, it started with the fall of Adam and Eve. What's the first story that we heard of a family that had some dysfunction in it was Cain and Abel. Now, some people say that was the first sibling rivalry, but it really wasn't. Let me tell you why. So, for those who know, Cain ended the life of his brother Abel. But let me tell you why it's not fully a sibling rivalry. Some people do say, but Cain, so Abel, offered a sacrifice to God, God accepted it. Cain offered a sacrifice to God, and God accepted it. And God did not accept it. Excuse me. God did not accept it. Pick up my book. I wrote a book called The Cain Mentality. But you don't see where they were beefing. You don't see where they were battling. You don't see where they got into an argument. All you saw was one day Cain ended the life of his brother Abel. What happened? Jealousy happened, envy happened. Cain was angry at God and he was jealous of his brother Abel's favor. Why have you accepted his offering, God, and not mine, even though God warned him? So you can actually go back to the Bible because I know we think, oh, dysfunctional families, and you're a Christian, we're not supposed to have dysfunctional families. Well, we're not supposed to, but it's in the Bible. It's part of the fall of man. Cain and Abel was a dysfunctional family. Then we got going all the way back to Joseph and his brothers. I mean, anytime your brothers jump up on you and they conspire against you and sell you into slavery, that's your own blood brother. That would probably be again an example of a dysfunctional family system here. And then we got I think Noah, believe it or not, even after Noah and the flood, he had three sons and one of them didn't do so well after Noah was drinking. You understand what I'm saying? So, so we get to talking about these things. I mean, that's not even talking about David and his brothers. Okay, let's not even talk about that. David and his brothers, right? So I say that to say, so there's clear examples in the Bible of dysfunctional families and somebody being the scapegoat. Okay. So let's talk about signs. How do you know that you are the scapegoat? And then next we'll talk about how do you get free. And as stated, number one, it's always your fault. You are blamed for everything that goes wrong, even for things you didn't cost, you didn't control, and you did not know nothing about. I remember, and I gave you this example from my own life. I'm just giving an example, just ain't mad. I'm just giving you an example. I remember I was praying. I was like, Lord, I was just talking to God in my home. And I said, God, what's going on here? I said, Lord, these people treat me. I didn't die on the cross for their sins. I can't fix it for them. I don't know what. This is crazy. You want me to jump through hoops and go through all kind of changes? I didn't do. I ain't dying for you. It's never enough. And the Lord told me, Samaria, the reason why they treat you like that is because you've always been the responsible one. You've always been responsible. And so we talk about what it means to be a scapegoat. A lot of times you become the scapegoat because it's in your DNA. You just always been responsible. You're the one that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. You operate integrity. You are the one that is you guys you can have your other siblings and they can be flying off the handle and jumping through the ceiling, honey. and your parents know that they, no matter what they say or do, that you can't depend upon them, but you got that one responsible one. And when you're the responsible one, guess what? They're going to put responsibility on you. When we start saying this is too much, and they start leaning over to team too much, sometimes you don't even recognize it. But so again, you the scapegoat when it's always your fault. You're blamed for everything that goes wrong. Half the time you didn't cause it. You weren't there. They didn't call you for counseling or pre-consultation. They didn't tell you, hey, what you think we should do? They do all kinds of things that were irresponsible, not pay bills, do all things with their credit and do all kinds of things. And the responsible one is the one that's supposed to take responsibility. And how dare you say no? Okay. You are expected to fix what you didn't break. You are expected to have an answer and provide for what is not your responsibility. This is one thing the Lord told me. He'll drop some wisdom nuggets on you. Okay, He said when you appear to be the one who has the answers, they will lean on you for solutions. Even though you could be like, figure it out. Like, how I became or continue. I just lean on God. I just ask Him. I just call people. I negotiate. If I got a bill I can't do, I call the company and I just do things because I'm responsible. I just ask questions. I really lean on my resources. You don't have it all together, but in their eyes, they think that you do. And I'm not saying you don't like. I'm not saying you're irresponsible, but when they think that you know it all, and they think that you have all the answers, I'm telling you, they're gonna lean on you. When you're the strong one, pick up. Not pick up. You may want to just Google on YouTube the curse of being the strong one, and the type my thing will pull up. My video will pull up when you're the responsible one, it'll pull up, okay? And so I can explain that a little bit more. You feel like you're expected to give, but it's not reciprocated. And even if people say, "Oh, I got your back, I got your back," they really don't have your back because they mean sometimes people really generally mean well, but they don't have the same capacity that you have. Okay, you are expected to just go along with this system. So listen, let me sip. Let me sip my coffee. Hold on. The system is not working. You're getting stressed out. You're getting overwhelmed. You can't do this. Your money, that's like your money is acting funny because no matter how much you can't hardly save now because you keep giving it away. What little bit of little coins you do have, keep trying to save family was, because they don't pay you back, by the way. And so it's working for them, but your yes is hurting you. See, I had a client say years, I don't know if the client, I don't remember where I heard it from. But if helping you is hurting me, then it's a problem. But when you are the scapegoat, helping your family is literally hurting you emotionally, mentally, physically, sometimes, but financially, it's hurting you, and they're fine with it. Okay. My pastor said years ago, he said, sometimes people will never find God because they got you. How will you know that God's the God who will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory? When they got you, you scapegoat, you're gonna supply all their needs according to your little riches, either you ain't have any, and your glory, which is limited. Okay? But it's not working for you, but it's working for them. They gaslight when you point it out. So when you say, "Hey, I don't want to be treated this way," they can mishandle you. Just keep on going, and they look at you like, "But what do you mean?" No, you can't. No, you can't. What do you mean that you? What do you mean? And don't say a dirty word. I mean, a dirty word. How they say called no. No, I don't understand. So they start gas like now. Oh, now you think now you think you better than us. Who do you think you are? They won't take responsibility or accountability. But guess who has to? You have to take accountability and responsibility for grown people. Now let's keep going. Your peace is being robbed as a result of being the scapegoat. You get accused of being the snob. Oh, now you stuck up. Oh, you think you better than us just because you got a degree. You got your little piece of a job, okay? You may got your little piece of a car. But when you got slightly more than them, oh, I didn't put this on my notes, but it's coming to me. They feel entitled to what you have worked hard for. They're entitled to your car, entitled, and your success, even though you're still working hard to pay it off. They get jealous. Let me not. So let's go here. Come on here. Come on here. We're gonna keep track of our time. You struggle with you know you even in other relationships. Because sometimes unless you break that cycle, when you get into other relationships, let's say you move out or you do relationships or you find like someone that you want to date, you tend to have that same mentality. You struggle with people pleasing, and you also struggle with low self-esteem because you have learned that love about you have learned to love about what you can give to someone and not how you can receive. Oh gosh, that was if I can look, there's different patterns. Every therapist that will hear me, if you listen to this via my podcast, there are certain patterns that you will see in different types of people as you counseling folk. And what happens is I have so many people that even in dating, they don't look for their equal. I love my women, but we got women with successes and degree. They will find some man to take care of. We can do relationships from guilt. We can do parenting from guilt. People please. We repeat the same cycle over and over again. I've heard people say, I left my parents' home and I married someone just like my father. Because it's a pattern that we keep repeating over and over again until we learn what's going on and we break the cycle. Okay. You are guilt tripped. Remember, I talked about guilt trip and not the last video podcast, the one before that, talk about the guilt trip. Okay. But you are guilt tripped. So you try to set a boundary again. The audacity of you to set a boundary, the audacity of you to say no, the audacity of you. Because remember, they feel entitled. So how dare you? And they're gonna try to. The guilt trip is a method. It's a strategy. Okay. Watch this. No matter how much you become what they want you to be, it is never enough. You can say yes, yes, yes so much that you start losing yourself. I feel like you're losing your soul. You wake up in the morning, you realize I have done so many things that other people wanted me to do. I don't even know who I am anymore. Or this is another thing I've gotten in therapy. I've had a client say, I, I don't even know who I am. I've always been working hard for other people. And that happens frequently. Because when we talk about being stressed out and overwhelmed, and we identify, okay, these are the triggers. Now we got to figure out, and I'm trying to get ahead of myself as far as how do we get free? We got to figure out it is okay for you to put you first. Okay. And so we got to figure out what do you want to do? What are your passions? What are your things? What brings you joy? What are your hobbies? How do you relax? And you will be surprised at people that say, well, because they spent all their lives just pouring into other people and doing what other people wanted them to do. You have this huge epiphany in this time of isolation when you finally think, well, who am I? If I don't have this person in my life, or if I'm not doing for other people, who am I outside of that? Now it's nothing wrong with helping people, but there's a difference between helping and enabling. Okay, and when you're the scapegoat, you've been taught to enable. You're really, they call it help, but it's something completely different. Okay. You suffer with low confidence, you lack identity, and you feel burned out. When you get that phone call and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. You get the text message from them, and you like, okay, all right, help me. You gotta prepare and around by Thanksgiving and the holiday times, you gotta prepare your heart and your mind. Again, when you get that text message, that phone call, your heart sinks and you just like, okay. You start feeling deep anxiety and almost like a sense of like dread just thinking about them, just seeing their face. You just start getting a headache or a migraine, and you like, okay. All right, okay. You gotta prepare yourself. I had to tell my clients it is okay not to answer your phone. You're like, I promise you. Okay. Washington, this is again going back to the guilt trip that I talked about in two podcasts ago. They will use your success as their entitlement and or your Christian faith against you. Oh, but the Bible says you ought to give. Now they call you selfish when you start saying no. What do you mean? I thought you were a Christian. So when you tell them, no, I can't pay this bill, or no, I can't help you out in that way, and there's nothing wrong with telling people no. No is not a sin. It ain't a dirty word. No just means no. But guess what? Oh, but you got a new car. What you mean no? You just got a promotion on your job. What you mean now? You live in that big old house. What you mean no? You can't help me with my groceries or whatever it is. What you mean you can't co-sign a loan for me? But you got it. They listen to me. They clock it. You may not really have it. Like maybe you are just like a regular schmegular like the rest of us. You got bills that you got to work for like the regular schmegular adulting it costs for us. But dare say no. Let you know you when you get to the point where I talked about this in the response, when you get to the point where you can't do nothing for yourself, you can't get your whole pair another pair of shoes, you can't get your hair done, they look at you up and down like, we may have to make some changes. Or and I can ask them use your or they'll say, oh, I'm a Christian too. The Bible says you don't work, you don't eat. And that's the word, man. That's the word. It didn't say that because I'm Christian. I'm supposed to help. I mean, I'm supposed to be your Bank of America. I'm supposed to be your resource. I can help you as a Christian, but you are not entitled. Okay, but they'll use your Christian faith or even start quoting scriptures. I told you about this forgiveness bit. Oh, but you're supposed to forgive. Or they'll start making accusations against you or your character when you do start setting a clear boundary. Okay. Um, are we ready? Are we still on here? Okay, we on. We on. We on. You have a high success, or maybe you just have some success. Okay. But you still suffer with imposter syndrome. You don't celebrate your own successes. You don't, it's almost like you feel like in a subconscious way, you almost act as if you have to hide your success. You graduate from college, but you feel like, you gotta hide who you are. Lest you be perceived as someone who's prideful or bourgeois. You have high successes, but you suffer with imposter syndrome. That means there's an underhanded belief that you are just an imposter. They don't celebrate you. They don't celebrate your successes. It's almost as if it's an oh, now you got a college degree. Mm, between all that, you ain't better than us. You will show up for them. They won't show up for you. You're expected to celebrate them. They can care less about whether or not you're celebrated. You are the scapegoat. The more successful you become, the more you are expected to give. Because they will, I'm telling you, they are watching your pockets. You could have zero, you could have a whole job with bills and zero in your checking account. But they clocking or watching your pockets. So in their minds, oh, but you got money. You got it. They're entitled. Entitled. So, okay, I can go on. We can have some more symptoms, but we're gonna leave that there. But you have a great feeling of obligation that has turned into a burden or a weight. People are using your kindness as a weakness and they're using it against you. So let's talk about how do we get free. The first thing is you cannot I had someone say years ago, you cannot get someone to be honest with you if you're not first honest with if they're not first honest with themselves. But I will tell you this, you cannot get free from something that you don't acknowledge. If you are in denial, and there's some people that are, that's how they choose to live. If you are in denial and it's affecting you in some way, but you have no other, you're not acknowledging anything, you can't get free from something that you don't acknowledge. Well, how does that show up? Like in the therapy, we can point out to you as a therapist, yeah, but and give you tools and strategies. But this is how it will go in therapy. Oh yeah, but I can't. Well, what are you gonna do without me? How can I do that? Yeah, but no, but now, and I'll give you that. I was counseling someone. I could say, hey, you can. This person that you're living with is a teenager. You can start delegating more responsibility instead of you doing everything. But no, they can't do it. It won't get done. Of course it won't get done because they know you're gonna do it. And so it's difficult because there are some people that are the scapegoat, and even though they're going through all kind of changes, your blood pressure went up because you're so stressed out. You having headaches, you up at night, you having severe anxiety, you on anxiety medication. If you just start setting some boundaries, telling people no, and delegating some authority, you may see some changes. But it's difficult when someone is, I hate to use combative, but they're not open to the changes that they need to do in order to heal from it or to make a change. So it'll sound like, yeah, but no, I can't do that. I don't know. Yeah, if I do this, it's like, well, why did you come to therapy? I mean, I'm just if you're not willing to do anything, I can't do that. I can help you lead you to the water, but I can't make it happen for you. You gotta want it bad enough. And so I've learned as a therapist and in my own way that you can't want something more for someone than they want for themselves. They have to want to change. You have to want to change. And a lot of times when you're the scapegoat, it's almost like we're waiting for other people to say, oh, I need to change because you're under a lot of stress. No, no, no. It's how their behavior is toward you, it's clearly working for them. Like I said, it's a system. They're not going to change to accommodate you. And a lot of times we'll spend years and years and years waiting for them to change. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because why would they change when they're benefiting from you being a scapegoat? Why would they change? Why would you just sit around and wait for them? It's working for them. It's not working for you, right? It's not working for you. So you have to be the one that says, I got to make some changes. Okay? There's no amount of medication. There's no therapist. No matter how many degrees, how successful it is. There are some things in life that someone can give you the tools, but you have to be willing to do the work. And just sitting around waiting for other people to change to accommodate you because we think, oh, they just love me so much that they're going to change for me. No, they're not. And a lot of times they're only repeating a system that they were raised in. So now we got generational curses. They're not going to up and break a generational curse that's working for them. So what are you willing to change? And I'm not saying it to condemn anyone. I'm just saying that there's a part that you have to play in your own deliverance. You know, no one can help you past your capacity to want help. Okay. And you can do it. God will give you the strength. But if you're just like, okay, I just want them to change. You just wait for them to change. You want to have a most like even if you have a conversation with, they just look at you like you got four eyes and and you can say, I want y'all to change. I want y'all to change in this way. They're not gonna change because it's working for them. Why would they change? It's too late. So you have to recognize where the spirit of manipulation, power, and control is present in your life. When you are the scapegoat, you are the victim of manipulation, power, and control. They'll get, oh, well, we family, and this we all we got. And now you are using toxic loyalty. That is a real thing. I did like 3 videos on toxic loyalty, but toxic loyalty and toxic friendship and toxic families and dysfunction that does not work. We're using it to keep us obligated and bound by something. And so we said recognize the spirit of manipulation, power, and control. But we also got this identify the cost. What is it costing you? And it may be costing your peace of mind. It may be costing you your successes. It may be costing your money. You know why it's costing you money? You probably would have a little more if you stop giving it to people who with their hand out. They don't want to work because they got you. All the amount, cause if you ever been around, if you ever been a scapegoat, you could sit down and calculate the money you lost helping other people, cause you are the scapegoat. So how do we start? So we recognize, we identify, and then we start. Now there's the stages of change, and any the stages of change, even though it is known under for the recovery community, recovery from substance abuse, things of that nature. We still use it, the stages of change in different areas, organizationally, mental health wise, things like that. We're in the stages of recovery, and the first stage of change is pre-contemplation and contemplation. You start thinking about it. And then you start thinking about someone, you go to contemplate, and you start making action steps. Well, you can do that same way when it comes to this. You start by, you may not feel emotionally strong enough to make a big move, but you start by building your inner man, which starts strengthening your heart, which gives you clear instruction and direction from God. So you start by meditating on the word, and you start finding your identity in Him. God does not want you to be a scapegoat. Once you start getting God, God, who am I? Who am I called to? Um, and He will start speaking to you through His word. And what happens, it starts building up your heart muscle. It starts building up your resolve. You know, the Lord told me one time, Samaria, not only were you are the responsible one, but you always saw yourself as the protector of these people, the protector. And so you was gonna go hard and sacrifice because you were the protector, but that you're no longer in that role anymore. So I had to unravel that. How did I see myself? But how does God identify? You are someone that naturally is a protective person, but it's not your responsibility to act as the martyr or the what do you call it, the lamb sent to the slaughter, self-sacrificing because you're going to protect and caretake and be the scapegoat. That's not what you're supposed to do now, Samaria. So you will start finding your identity in Him when you start meditating, and again, it builds your strength muscle, it builds your resolve, it starts building your heart muscle. So then you can start making changes. After that, you begin to pray. Pray the pray what the next steps are so you can move forward. Um, um, I think a lot of times people scapegoats are afraid because you assume that we are telling you to cut everybody off, and that's not what we're saying. We're saying stop operating in that role. Unfortunately, depends upon the level of toxicity within your unit, where you're feeling your family, you may have to get to the place where, whether it be temporary or permanent, that you go no contact because it is so burdensome. And because when you in the place where you're going to the hospital, you taking anxiety medications on account of other people, you can't live your life. Your mental health is stunted. Your identity is stunted. You can't live for you at all. But again, you pray and ask God for wisdom and discernment. Sometimes God will make that decision for us once we start. He will just make sure one day they're there and one day they're not. But you ask God, God, this is what's going on with me. You know, you are my divine protector. You are the one who supplies all my needs according to your riches. Well, you are the reason why I am blessed. Please tell me, God, speak to me concerning this is where I am. What choices, what decisions, what do I need to do? So pray for wisdom and discernment. There are some times when you have to move in silence. My grandma used to say back in the day, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So don't be, I'm praying about moving forward. I'm praying about, because I'm the scapegoat in my family. Y'all getting on my nerves. But sometimes God will tell you what to do. Now, to read, this is my only scripture for today. Genesis 12, 1 through 2, New Living Translation, the call of Abraham. The Lord said to Abram, leave your country, leave your native country, leave your relatives and your father's family, and go to a land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you. I'll make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. The instructions God gave Abraham was to leave. So if God tells you to leave, it's not that you're hearing a demon. You're following God's instructions. So again, let's go. Our time is almost up, so I'm going to go with these rather quickly. The last few things. You make moves to have your own life and find your own tribe. Sometimes the people that will be show you favor and kindness and love will not be family. Your friend, your it'll be God will give you a kingdom family that's so much more important than your biological one. Start practicing self-care and self-love, even if you have to do it by yourself. Take yourself out to eat, take yourself on vacation, buy something for yourself, and don't tell them, but don't make excuses. You worked hard and you have a right to reward yourself. So if you buy you a brand new purse or you take yourself out to start celebrating you. You're gonna give yourself as much information as possible. That means set boundaries and stick to them. When I say give yourself information, start inundating yourself because what you've gone through, there's a pattern of psychologists and therapists and behavioralists who have studied this for many, 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 many years, and they can give you clear, also structure as well. So give yourself as much information as possible. Start reading. Again, that's going to start also building up your heart muscle. So books I recommend, these are just a few. There's tons of books out there like this. Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud, Dr. Robert Telson. There's a book called Codependent No More by Melody BT. Emotional Vampire. I loved that book by Dr. John Albert J. Bernstein. Emotional Blackmail. I read that book twice by Dr. Susan Forward, excuse me. There's another book called When to Walk Away. And I can't remember the name of the pastor, but it's called When to Walk Away. I can't remember the name, but it's a really good book. Really good. It's a Christian pastor who wrote When to Walk Away. And that was excellent. I read it 3 times. The more information you give the self, which is why I recommended some of these books, but the more information you give yourself, you will it'll make you stronger and it'll give you the tools that you need to change. Of course, go to therapy, go to a Bible-led church, but as a warning, religious people can also try to manipulate you. So if you start seeking counsel with them, go to a therapist. If you start taking counsel with them, oh, they're gonna tell you the Bible, they're gonna twist the Bible because they're just gonna twist the Bible. That's your cousin, and the Bible say you ought to just forgive, and they start manipulating you. Again, not relationship people, but religious people, because they have remember I talked to you about how you can be a scapegoat within the culture, and sometimes they just don't give you the best counsel. Okay, commit to being led by the Spirit and not by guilt. So that's what the scapegoat was being led by guilt. But we want you to be commit to be led by the Spirit of God. Okay, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace because change happens slowly over time and you're making steps in the right direction. You can live the life you want to live. And like I said, God will give you a tribe. So I say that to say it is okay for you to think about you. It is okay to put 2 people first, God and you. Now, of course, in context, like y'all who have kids and stuff like that, you got to add into the equation. You got to, I mean, I get it. But so many times the scapegoat does not take care of themselves. They feel guilty for doing, even though I gotta get my nails done. Somebody gotta give me a massage. You gotta hurt them sneak and all that kind of stuff because how dare you do something for yourself? You have to reward yourself and start doing things to take care of yourself because you only got one you and you are irreplaceable, believe it or not. All right, yeah, I am Dr. Samaria M. Kober. You can check me out at www.drsamariakober.com. I have a free ebook. It's called The Process of Emotional Healing. The link is below, or you can find it at my website. My other free ebook, The Accuser, is still there as well. If you want training courses, www.trainingchristianleaders.com. Also for me, requesting speaking engagements and all that, www.drsamariakober.com. And if you're located in the state of North Carolina, or you can get to the state of North Carolina, go to www.kingdomcreativecounseling.com. And I'll be glad to see you, help you to work through some of these things. If you can't find a therapist or if you can't come to North Carolina, you can go to www.psychologytoday.com and they will find you a local therapist in your local area. Okay, we'll be back at another day and a time, another banger. Thank y'all so much. And have a good remainder of your day. Hopefully this helps. And pick up those books. Love you much. Bye.